Getting into press conference with an open date, it's really been a good week. We've gotten a bunch of great work done this week as we went hard at it last week on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, kind of in a camp mentality or a spring practice mentality, but just trying to get better fundamentally with where we are and improve in a lot of areas as a football team. We've got to continue to work on the fundamentals, continue to work with that, the turnovers, the consistency, and trying to continue to develop the depth on this football team. There's a lot of young guys on this football team that are working extremely hard, that are earning opportunities to get on the field, and so it's been really a productive 3 days from those three areas, trying to continue to stress, like I said, the turnovers, the consistency, and the depth of this football team. We are kind of at the halfway point, and this has given us a great opportunity to kind of get our feet on the ground, to look back, to evaluate. Hard to do during the course of a season when you get into fall camp and you're going for 3 straight weeks, and then you get into the season and you get into your weekly routine in which you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And this has been a good opportunity for us to kind of really take a good look at where we are and what some of our problem areas are, as we've been through 6 games literally at the halfway point. It's also, we gave the players a little bit of time away to get them to get an opportunity to get their feet on the ground mentally, physically, to get some of the bumps and bruises healed up. It's nice to get a lot of these guys back out on the field as we're probably as healthy as we've been in quite a while. But with us going through this week, it's kind of a great opportunity right now after an open date to say, let's start the second half of the season. I know the players are really excited. It's kind of a fresh start, a restart button, so to speak, and we can't change the first 6 games and what we've done, but we can learn from it, evaluate it, move on as a football team, improve as a football team, and hopefully make some changes in the second half of the season, as we are just now at the halfway point. There's still a lot of football left to be played. As I said, excited to get back out on the field, and with that excitement comes a great opportunity at Louisville. Louisville is a 6-0 football team right now. Not real sure where they're even ranked. But I know they're a ranked football team. They've done a really nice job. Charlie's done a good job with that football team. When I look at them offensively, they've got obviously a quarterback who is throwing the ball extremely efficiently. They've got 2 running backs that are running the ball very well. They have 7 different receivers that have 10 or more catches. They're spreading the ball around. They're using a lot of balance as an offensive football team. Their offensive line is big, and what they're doing really, they are creating a lot of balance, a lot of motions, a lot of shifts, a lot of unbalanced looks for your defense, trying to keep your defense off balance with what they're doing. Defensively, they're very aggressive. They're going to load the box. They're going to try and stop the run. They've given up 100 yards a game rushing, more or less, 114, I believe it is. They're going to play man coverage. They're going to be very aggressive with a lot of blitzes and pressures, 3 downs, trying to create a lot of confusion. And I think they've done a good job as a defensive football team. And then when you look at their special teams, it's the same thing. They're going to try and come after the blocks on your punt team. They're going to try and come after that. And then with their kickoff return, they have a young man that's returning for 25 yards of return, and their kickoff team is solid. So it's going to be a great challenge. We went up there 2 years ago and found a way to win in overtime, and we're kind of looking for that type of jump start as we get into the second half. That's what we're practicing for, to go up there. We know it'll be a challenge. We know it'll be at a great crowd and a great atmosphere. We're looking forward to going up there and the opportunity to play at Louisville this week. We've had an awful lot of time together here for the last week, it seems, without a football game, with all the practices last week and Sunday and getting ready for this. But what questions could I answer for anybody?
Well, Coach, going into that kind of creating a competition during the camp last week, did that open up any spots in the starting lineup? Did anyone earn a step up at this point?
Yeah, I won't say it so much. It wasn't a huge, okay, we're going to demote you and move you up, etc. It was probably more the development, a lot of the depth chart. I look at a guy, Clavon Nelson, is a guy at defensive end who, once the season starts, he wasn't in the mix. He's kind of been down on the scout team, hadn't got a lot of work, and then has really gotten a great opportunity this week. I think he's earned himself some playing time this week. He's really done a nice job. And there's a lot of guys that are in that boat, but so it's probably more the development and the depth of the football team than it is an overhaul to say, okay, he's getting benched or he's getting benched, but it was the development and some of these young guys that are really starting to emerge. You know, when you start to play freshmen, you expect freshmen to jump off sides, to make mistakes, to, you know, drop balls, to some of the freshman mistakes that are going to be made. But if you could think back about, I guess it was about this time last year when when Sterling got hurt, and Andre Davis and Ruben Gonzalez really started to emerge on the football team the second half of the season. So I think it's probably more some of those young guys that are really starting to get into the depth chart where they're going to play more of a significant role than they have in the past. And I think where you're going to see it is maybe not necessarily in depth chart changes, as far as starters being demoted, those type of things. But where you're going to see it, you're going to see Rashard Clapp play more. You're going to see Tayshawn Whitehurst play more. That means somebody's got to come off the field, you know, and that's going to make us a better football team later in some of these football games, is creating that depth. So instead of a young man maybe playing 60 or 70 plays, maybe he'll play 40 or 50 plays, and his backup will end up taking 20 of those reps off of him where we should be fresher. So I think it was a productive week, and like I said, I loved the attitude. We went back out there today. Had a very spirited practice today. I mean, it was even spirited. The one-on-ones were very spirited. The linebackers, the running backs. I mean, it was an emotional day. It was a positive practice today. I really liked the way that they went out there and got after it. And I've said that from the beginning. And I keep saying I love this football team. I love this football team because of the work. Don't love them because we're perfect. I don't love them because we don't make mistakes. Or we don't turn the ball over. We create a million turnovers. Or, you know, I mean, all those. It's not. I love them because of their attitude, because they go out there every single day and they've got great work habits. And I think, I keep saying this, I think in a lot of ways we're getting better. I just want those things to show up in the win-loss column when we go out and play on the field on Saturdays.
The season's kind of broken clean, you're right in the middle, open week 6-6. Can you reset? Can you rid yourself of the first half and start anew? Is that something you could do easily?
I think in sports you have to. You know, I don't care if it's a halfway point. I don't care if it's a one-game standpoint. I mean, you lose a football game, you lose a baseball game, basketball game, you can't change it. You don't have time to sit around and wallow in self-pity. I've talked about this before, and, you know, have a chance to reflect and look back and say, you know, maybe if you're on to the next game. I mean, you're into the next game plan and what you have to do as an athlete, as a coach. And that's why I said this has been really kind of a breath of fresh air to have the opportunity to look back at us as a football team where we can take a breath and get ready to go for the second half. So I do think it's been a nice change of pace from what we've been in, and I'm excited for the second half. I think this team is excited for the second half of the season. I think, I said, nobody's proud with where we are from a win-loss standpoint, but I'm certainly proud of the attitude of this football team and the way that they continue to work through some adversity and maybe a lot of negativity on the outside, that they continue to go out there and work extremely hard and not point fingers at each other or trying to fly and blame, but everybody's going out there and working to try and get better and improve, and that's the only thing we can do as a football team right now.
You mentioned a fair amount of defensive tweaks with kind of these changes in the last 2 weeks, but in talking to Price and Montgomery, it seems like they've picked up a lot of confidence in themselves in these 2 weeks. What was the next step to the coaches having confidence in them to want to get them on the field more?
See them doing it at practice, just that, watching their confidence grow, and their confidence grows because they go out there and they have the opportunity to run team reps against the defense in game-like situations and be successful. And that's where confidence grows from, is out there on those practice fields. And that's where I do see Sean Price and DeVario Montgomery are two very talented younger players that are going to get more involved. Like I talked about Andre Davis last year, you know, was a very talented freshman and made a huge impact, but he didn't make it until the second half of the season. And I would say, you know, when you look at guys like Evan Landy and Andreas Shields and Jeff Hawkins and all those senior tight ends, you've got all those guys in front of a guy like Sean Price. And even though Sean Price has got a tremendous amount of talent and is going to be a phenomenal football player here and has got a bright, bright future, he's sitting behind guys that have been doing it for 4 and 5 years that are doing all the little things the right way. And I think it's not just talent that makes you a great football player, but it's doing those things day after day after day that make you better. And that's what I think both of those guys have done. And I think that's where the confidence from the coaches and in themselves comes from.
The drought you're having at the interception area, have you ever been through?
That's a nice way to put it.
Right? Have you ever been through a situation like that? And obviously, has that been maybe a key contributor to the losses, do you think?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt our lack of turnovers definitely has had an impact, and I think with that, our turnovers on offense has had an impact. I've been we're minus 11 in our 4 losses. I've said that before, but to a lot of people that may go right over their head, but I don't think there are many teams that are minus 11 in 4 games that are winning many of them. I think that is a huge part of our problem right now. If we were plus 11, I think we would be minimum of 3-1 in those games, you know what I mean, at a minimum. But we're not. We're minus 11, and that's something we as coaches have got to we've got to do a better job of making sure our players are comfortable on the field where they're not going to turn the ball over in a passing situation, and we've got to do a great job of coaching, holding on to it. At the same time, I think our players need to continue to make an asserted effort in what we've got to do to protect the ball and win the turnover battle. The drought, as you put it, in the secondary is frustrating. I won't even call it the secondary. The passing game is frustrating because linebackers and D-line are all involved with that. We've got to get more pressure on the quarterback and make him throw the ball in adverse situations or eat it and take a sack. Either one is good for us, so I would take either one. But I think we've got to put a little more pressure on them, and we've got to do a better job of being disciplined and consistent in our passing coverages, whether that be underneath the linebacker or in the secondary. I mean, you go back this week, we had the opportunity to review all our third downs. I mean, it's almost like 3rd and 5. We're doing pretty well. I mean, above the normal when you look at the statistics. But 3rd and 12, we're awful. We're almost going to start jumping off sides on 3rd and 12 to make a 3rd and 5. Where we've got a better chance to have success. But things like that have given us the opportunity to look at every 3rd down and what was the problem and where did we break down and what do we need to do a better job of in the second half. And that's one of the things that we've had the opportunity to look at. But certainly I would love to have 5-6 more turnovers at this point.
That mental hurdle of getting that first interception, I mean, Rick Smith said, I think he's told them now that he's going to kiss them on the mouth when that happens. Well, what can you guys do just to show? I'm not suggesting that for you. But in terms of opening the floodgates, once you get one, it kind of eliminates the burden of not having any.
And it is. It's like anything. It's like getting that win. You start to get, there it is, that interception that we have been fighting for, all season and haven't been able to get it. And there it is. And we've just, we got to relax and play football. I mean, we've got to relax. We've got to play football. BJ made the comment. He said, we got to go back to just having fun. You know what I mean? To kind of playing the game. Going back, they keep reverting back to like when we were at Vero, and it's just all football, and it's going out there, and there's nobody there, and it's just them going against each other. They're playing their tails off, and they're loving the game and praising each other, and it's positive and it's upbeat. We just got to go back to let's not kind of get so caught up in just the result that everybody puts so much pressure on themselves, but not that we can throw care to the wind and do whatever we want either, because it's still fundamentals and discipline and the consistency and the execution of the offense and the defense and playing within that system that's going to give us a chance to have success. So I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. I don't think you want to pound on it and hammer it, but we just got to continue to teach it. We got to be positive with them. We got to encourage them. We've got a good group of young men that are working extremely hard to get better, and that's the obligation that we have as a coaching staff, is to help them.
Brockhouse Collins having a real bounce back here. Can you just talk about him, how he's impressed you and how he's progressed since last year?
Justin has done a great job. If you looked at him the first probably 4 or 5 games the last 2 years, he started off on this type of wave where he's averaged 43, 44, 45 yards a punt through the first 4 or 5 games. The challenge that we have right now is to continue that, because the second half of the season has not been as productive for Justin. And so I know the talent's in there. It's just a matter of continuing to kick at the level that he's kicking at. But I think he is doing an excellent job of punting the ball. And one of the bright spots right now of our kicking teams is the way that we've kicked the ball, the way we've punted it, the way we've kicked it off, the way we've field goal kicked it. I mean, I think that's one of the bright spots of the first half of the season right now. And so the challenge we have is to continue that while we get better in some other areas of the kicking game.
They've got 34 kids from Florida on the Louisville roster. Are Are there many teams that you go up against, out-of-state teams, that you go up against for recruits more here in Florida than you do with Louisville?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that recruit this state. There's a lot of people that recruit the state, but we go up against quite a bit. I mean, you hear their name quite a bit in recruiting as we're battling for a lot of the same players. A lot of the players that are here were also recruited by Louisville, so it's a thing where you hear their name quite a bit. I mean, you get some pretty much every school in the Big East. I'm just trying to go through. I mean, Syracuse is down here. You hear them down there. Cincinnati is another one that we bump into a little bit down here. I mean, so you bump into quite a few, but probably Louisville was one of the bigger ones. Yes.
At practice today, you had the guys running on and off the field. I guess there's, the players we've talked to said there's always a method behind what you're trying to do in those drills, and more is that as a psychological advantage you guys could have?
Well, it's a conditioning drill is what it is, but rather than just line up and say, okay, we're going to run across the field and then back over, run around that goalpost and back, instead of just trying to condition with a purpose. And one of the purposes we have is running on and off the football field, that kind of not letting things drag or get into a lull, or where you kind of get that little trot on the field and off the field. And I think when you let it drag physically, you let it drag mentally and emotionally. And so we're conditioning for a purpose, like you said. I mean, as a football team, those are times, as they're running on and off the field and they're tired, and they just went through, 30 reps apiece a team, and they just played half a football game, and now they're sprinting on and off the football field. It's conditioning, it's team building, where they start leaning on each other and picking each other up. You hear guys say, hey, keep your heads up, stay in it, those type of things. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're trying to get done during that period, but rather than just running them to run them, and trying to run them with a purpose, with a little bit more game-like conditioning, which is explosion type stuff, rather than, okay, everybody run a mile in 10 minutes, type of thing.
A lot of the guys were saying too, you do that in a game, it can kind of send a message to the other team that we're here to play, and
it does, because you see it all the time in the press box when you have a long drive. The coaches up on the headsets are saying, they're tired, run the ball at them. They're tired, they're putting their hands over their heads, they're staggering a little bit, run at them, they're tired. It's kind of that, never let them see you sweat. You can stand there and be gasping for air so bad you need a bug screen in your throat, where you're breathing hard, but put your hands on your hips and stand tall. You're going to be tired either way, but it's that mental conditioning as well as that physical conditioning that goes into it.
Is there anything you've seen from the team in the last 2 weeks of practice that maybe you didn't see from practicing wrestling games this season?
Well, I mean, just probably the heightened awareness and some of the mistakes that we're making. I think they're, like I keep talking about, their attitude and the way they're going out there and working, flying around, hitting each other, going out there playing the game the way it's meant to be played, playing the game with some emotion and passion, but they've always done that. That's one of the things that I've talked about, I've loved about this team, is the blue-collar work habit type mentality, but probably the heightened awareness to creating that turnover, to getting your hands on that ball, to lose and contain, to holding up on your block pass pro, where there's a heightened awareness to some of the mistakes that are being made, that some of them that they want to correct. They want to be good. I mean, like I said, they want to be good, and that's what we've just got to give them. We've got to get them better at doing some of the fundamental things that we need to. I don't think when I go back and watch the games and some of the mistakes made, it's not that anybody's throwing their arms up and turning their back and crossing their arms and saying, okay, we're not going to play hard. It's just some of the mistakes that we're making, because there's a huge difference between playing hard and playing smart. And that's probably one of the things that I'm seeing more than anything, is a heightened awareness to penalties, to turnovers, to doing all the little things the right way, and guys kind of getting on each other, not where it's just not the coaches, but there's an internal pressure as well.
Could that heightened awareness be the switch that was on off that needed to be on?
I hope. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, as we go through the second 6 weeks, there are things that we've been coaching. We're not coaching it. We're not coaching different things. There's not a new formula of, we're going to, there you go. Okay, we got it now. We're going to win them all. I mean, it's not Mr. Miyagi tricks. It's going out there and it's getting better fundamentally and doing the little things that we have to do to get better and improve as a football team. And I do. Like I said, I the way they're working, the coaches are coaching hard right now. I know everybody wants it to be, oh, there it was, okay, now we got it. You know, there was the switch, why didn't we hit that 4 weeks ago? You know, that would have been easy. But I think, again, I think we hit on the key, which is the turnovers is one of the key things. I mean, there's some little things that we can get better as coaches, as players, et cetera. We're certainly not perfect. But I think the turnovers, the heightened awareness with protecting the ball and creating turnovers is probably one of the big things that we've talked about for the last couple of weeks. Thank y'all very much for being
Thanks,
here.
Skip.
I appreciate it. It's going to be a great week.